Let's go to the tip-off right now as Alcindor is ready. You see number 33, Lou. He is listed at 7'1", but look at him next to 6'11", Walt Bellamy. Bellamy from Indiana. Alcindor, of course, from UCLA. This is his first professional basketball game, and the whole country has waited for it. The tip is controlled by the Bucks. They're in white. That's Jon McGlocklin. They're going to our left. This is in Milwaukee, remember. Jimmy Walker is on him in the left corner. Number 10 just had the ball, gives it away on the right side. That was Dandridge, and here's a whistle. That's Mendy Rudolph, one of the officials. Dandridge is a rookie. Underneath, he's guarded by Eddie Miles.
Jerry, you saw Lou Alcindor go in deep and then come out high. Larry Costello wants to get a lot of movement off of Lou Alcindor. There he is, working one-on-one against Bellamy.
His first shot. It's Alcindor on his first attempt from the field. Drops it in, and the Bucks are leading. This is a ball club that was in the cellar last year. And right ahead of him, this Detroit club. That's Bellamy charging right into the big guy. It's an offensive foul.
There you see Alcindor defensively step back from Bellamy, so he makes Bellamy commit himself first, and he's big and quick enough to recover and get in his way as he did there, causing Bellamy to charge.
Robinson brings it up. Now McLaughlin in the right corner. Don Smith. McLaughlin does his
Basket by McLaughlin.
Jerry, I think we should make the point that this is a pretty good ball club in addition to Alcindor. In the backcourt, McLaughlin and Robinson can put that ball in the basket, and in the forecourt, Smith and Dandridge can also put the ball in the basket.
Eddie Miles working on the rookie, but Alcindor's there. The deflection by one of his teammates and picked off by Alcindor. There's McLaughlin driving again. There's the rookie, tight roping the sideline. That's a backcourt violation. He threw it, and Alcindor, coming back slowly on offense, was in backcourt. So it's a violation against the rookie. Bob Dandridge, he's from Norfolk State. There's Alcindor again.
A little miscue on the part of Alcindor on that play. He failed to come down after getting the rebound, and when he tried to clear it out to him, he was called with a backcourt foul. So he will be getting down a little quicker, I imagine.
Butch Komives bangs one home.
Basket by Komives.
And we have now a 4-2 ball game. Milwaukee against Detroit. This on ABC's Wide World of Sports. A special for you wherever you may be, and starting 5.5 hours of sports this afternoon. Knocking it out of bounds, Komives.
There you see the Detroit technique. They're pressing all over the court. They're picking up the guards outside, trying to get Milwaukee to start their offense out a little bit further so it will be more difficult to get it into Alcindor.
And it's a small team, Jack, a small Detroit ball club. What with Hap Hairston out with a flu. There's a layup that's good. No basket. Traveling on the play, there's the veteran NBA referee, Mendy Rudolph, working this ball game along with John Parker. Now here, bringing the ball up, is Providence College's great star, Jimmy Walker. 6'3", and he goes to Miles. That's Bellamy. Guarded closely, but he outspins away from Alcindor, and that's a dunk by Walter. Bellamy told us before the ball game he has never played against the big guy, but played with him in the offseason. Here's McLaughlin going in, blocked by Bellamy and a whistle.
There you saw the difference at the other end of the floor. Alcindor, as I mentioned at the outset, for the first time, I think in his career, he's going to have to pay very close attention to Bellamy. He's not going to be able to roam. He's not going to be able to clog the middle. He's playing against an excellent ball player, and he can't afford to let Bellamy get hot.
This man shooting foul shots is one of the better foul shooters in the NBA. He just came back from a trip to Vietnam with many of the NBA ball players, and his comment on coming back to Commissioner Kennedy was he was never so proud to be an American. After talking to our fine servicemen overseas, Jon McGlocklin. Komives brings it up. We're in a 6-4 ball game. The Bucks lead. That jumper by Miles. Eddie Miles playing up front now.
It's a little gamble on the part of the Pistons. Eddie Miles, normally a backcourt man, moved to the forecourt to get a little quickness in that lineup.
Komives tries to knock it away, but Robinson gets it. Flynn's a good shooter. Now he makes his move by Walker.
Basket by Robinson.
Komives brings it up, 8-6. The blue-clad Pistons trailing. Alcindor bats it away. Robinson on a 3-on-2 break. Dandridge, Robinson. The one thing about this small ball club with Detroit, Jack, they might be able to run very well against this bigger club.
But, Jerry, they have to get the ball first, and with Alcindor in there, they're at a tremendous disadvantage as far as rebounding.
10-6 is the score. Bucks leading.
Basket by Miles.
McLocklin bringing it up. Walker against him. That's Alcindor against Bellamy. Up high. Bellamy with a rebound. Now Detroit trying to come back. They're in the blue. And the Bucks are in the white. He's in low. And he got caught underneath on a mismatch and had to foul. There are some rule changes this year, Jack, which I think we should mention for the benefit of the fans. One concerns the loose ball foul.
Well, any foul off the ball and a team that was fouled and does not have possession, a foul shot will not be taken. The fouled team will take the ball out of bounds. So that's a new rule. 2 points will be awarded for a tip-in on a foul shot as opposed to 1 point last year. And there will be 4 team personal fouls a quarter, the 5th being awarded a penalty situation as opposed to 5 last year, Jerry. Those are the major rule changes.
Alcindor in the hole. He banks it in. He just forced his way in. If there was ever a doubt about power, he showed some power there, backing into Bellamy.
I want to say, Jerry, the 20 pounds that he's giving away to Walter Bellamy has not made a difference thus far in the ball game.
It's 12-9. That's the score. 8 minutes to go in the opening period. Detroit against Milwaukee, and the Bucks leading, and Komives bothering Flynn Robinson. There's Butch Van Bredikoff. He used to be with the Lakers and led that ball club to within 2 points of a world championship. Now in Detroit, the skipper here of the Detroit Pistons.
You know, the strategy of the Pistons is to bother the men with the ball, trying them not to make them not think about Alcindor in there, to worry about the press.
Made a move past Bellamy. In for the shot.
There we have seen the agility that we've heard so much about on the part of Alcindor. 7'1", dribbling around Bellamy like he was a guard.
Alcindor has 6 points. He's outscored Bellamy in their personal duel 6-3. That's Jimmy Walker against Robinson. Into Dischinger. And Terry cutting across the lane. There's a fine shooter, Terry Dischinger. And that shot an easy layup, but he is a great touch around that perimeter. Bellamy on the interception. Komives. That's Eddie Miles. 2-on-2. Dischinger. Great play by John Smith. Komives back to Miles, and he's fouled. The bucket
by Miles. Foul on Robinson.
There's a lot of other basketball tonight in the NBA. Tommy Heinsohn takes the Boston Celtics into Baltimore.
Miles at the line.
Gene Shue's club, and Gene has been quoted in the Philadelphia papers as saying he thinks his club will win a title in Baltimore. Eddie Miles is at the line. Miles played at Seattle, won All-Star game. This is his 7th year in the league. And his scoring average right there, you saw, for last year. 14-13 is the score, 7 minutes to go. The team in command of the ball leading. A block by Komives, getting it back and missing the jumper, Robinson. And here comes Detroit. Miles with the ball. Komives into the corner, Jimmy Walker. That's Bellamy leaping in, and he scores, and he's fouled.
Basket by Bellamy.
What Bellamy is doing, Jerry, is bringing Alcindor outside, and Detroit has been able to get the rebound and get the ball down the floor, as we just saw.
With a timeout here in the first quarter, the score is Detroit 15, Milwaukee 14.
Jerry, the Detroit gamble to start the short front court has not hurt them thus far. They've been able to get the ball. Bellamy is bringing Alcindor outside. And at the forward position, we have a tough matchup for Detroit, for Milwaukee. Don Smith is having a problem guarding Terry Dischinger. Dischinger, a little bit quicker and a very good shooter, is getting loose from Don Smith. So the Bucks will have to adjust a little bit.
Bellamy, the foul shooter, missing and grabbing it. That's Don Smith. And here comes McLocklin. McLocklin is a good outside shooter. Here's the rookie. He's supposed to be a fine shooter. He missed that one, and the rebound taken away by Dischinger of Detroit. Here's a hard-nosed player, former New York Knick, Butch Komives. Now Miles trying to work on Dandridge. He's a little stronger than the rookie. Missed the shot. Alcindor with a rebound. Alcindor's debut, and what a tight one so far. 15-14, the Bucks trailing Detroit. That's Don Smith. Shot's long and out battling Alcindor for the rebound. It's Eddie Miles as he tapped it away, and we have a foul right in front of our ABC microphone. Well, Bob Cousy returned to Boston last night, Jack, and it was quite a thrill for Bob. And
Here's
before
Jimmy
we get
Walker
to that,
Walker at the line.
Jimmy Walker.
2 throws.
Holding up and drawing the foul on rookie Bob Dandridge, number 10. There you see going over the back of Jimmy Walker.
Walker, who also has a bit of history connected with the Boston club. He was Befriended by Sam Jones. Shooting at the line. Now makes it 17-14. Jimmy Walker.
Walker playing a little bit with the injury to Dave Bing has averaged over 20 a game in exhibition series.
Alcindor up high with the ball. Bellamy behind it. Tries to feed in, does to Robinson, and he's fouled. This is one of the things that makes it so very important for a good center. You have to be more than just a shooter. You have to be a good passer in order to benefit yourself.
Robinson at the line. 2 throws.
Alcindor comes out real high, Jerry, and he opens up the inside. There you saw Flynn Robinson getting a fine pass from Lou Alcindor.
Robinson out of Wyoming got the pass, and if Alcindor can be a good feeder as a pivot man as well as the threat to score, he'll make everyone else on his ball club better.
Larry Costello wants to get a lot of movement, and thus far in this ball game, he has a lot of movement in that offensive lineup.
The men in blue leading by 1. Miles makes it 3 as he knocks one home on the left. 5.5 to go, first period. 19-16, Detroit's leading. Dandridge goes to McLaughlin. He shoots outside.
Basket by McLaughlin.
And here's Jimmy Walker. Bellamy up high with it. He's going to drive, and a whistle.
Once again, there you saw Lou Alcindor almost 3 to 4 feet away from Walter Bellamy. He forced Bellamy to make the move. There we see Bellamy up high, Alcindor away from him, and there he gave him time to get in and draw the foul on Walter Bellamy right there. Fine defensive play by Lou Alcindor.
Bellamy now has 3 fouls, 2 offensive fouls. Into the hole it goes to Alcindor. He's cutting across and banks it.
Basket by Alcindor. Basket by Alcindor.
Once again, you saw Walter Bellamy leaning on Lou Alcindor, and it didn't seem to faze him a bit, Jerry.
And that puts the Bucks in the lead, 20-19. And Terry Dischinger with it. Stolen away by Alcindor. Robinson. The Bucks coming back. Greg Smith, number 4, fighting for the rebound. And this is the loose ball foul, and the first example of the loose ball foul that we have had. It is to be charged as a team foul.
Loose ball foul.
And with a substitution coming up, Otto Moore coming into the ball game. The team foul is charged here. There is no shooting foul unless you're in the penalty situation. And in the ball game for the first time, Otto Moore.
Greg Smith replaces.
He's going to try and contend with Alcindor. Look at that shot. Blocked brilliantly by Otto Moore. He has good mobility. He might be the guy that might bother Alcindor a little more than, say, a Bellamy. The rebound taken away by Komives. He drives. That's knocked out of bounds on a good defensive play by number 14, Jon McGlocklin.
Larry Costello is encouraging McLaughlin, Robinson, Guy Rodgers to shoot from outside, just as they did to prevent, there's Larry Costello right there, to prevent teams from sagging in on Lou Alcindor.
Moore in the hole. The big guy, he's 6'11". Jumper by Komives.
Basket by Komives.
That makes it now a 21-20 ball game, and a tight one here at the Milwaukee Arena. 4 minutes left to go approximately in the first period. Alcindor has 8 points. Bellamy has 5. He's out of there, and Otto Moore is in. That's Guy Rodgers, who just opened the ball.
And Jerry, I imagine Larry Costello putting Guy Rodgers in. The press has bothered the Bucks a little bit. Get a little ball handling into that backcourt. Guy Rodgers, of course, very good ball handler, can break a press.
The Bucks led by 1, but now Detroit bounces back and they lead by 1. There's the score, 23-22. Komives making the play. He has 6 points. Greg Smith in the corner goes to Rodgers, then it goes to Alcindor. He's trying to work on Moore, does and misses. And the rebound batted around and picked off the floor by Komives and knocked out of bounds by Don Smith. That's switched. Van Bredikov calling for a timeout across the way. And there is a timeout right here at the Milwaukee Arena with the score. The Detroit Pistons 23 and the Milwaukee Bucks 22. The debut of Lou Alcindor. And here is Butch Van Bredikov talking to his Detroit Pistons. And Jack Twyman, as you think about the opening moments for Lou in this ball game, you must have some comments.
Well, I think in his battle with Walter Bellamy, he's doing very well. He's playing him very wisely. He's sagging off of him a little bit. He's so quick and tall, Jerry, that he can afford to give a man 2 or 3 feet because he can recover. And he's drawn 2 offensive fouls out of Walter Bellamy. So he's doing a fine job, and I think playing very smart basketball out there for a rookie.
We'll now watch the battle between Alcindor and Otto Moore. Moore is number 20. It's a double screen to the left. That's Komives bringing it up on the left side. And the forward on the right side, Miles, comes behind the double pick and gets the ball. And misses the shot, and that's Don Smith with a rebound. It's 23-22. And the team with the ball is the team that's trailing the Milwaukee Bucks. That's McGlocklin outside. That's Alcindor in the low post left against Moore. He was over the top of it.
There you see the great extension, Lou Alcindor. We have an adjustment on the part of the Bucks. Greg Smith in there with the small front line of Detroit. Smith in there at forward.
And Bredikoff, belly double dribble. The big guy. No call. And knocked out of bounds by Jimmy Walker. So Milwaukee will bring it up in the pairings on defense. It's Komives against the speedy guy Rodgers. Walker guarding McGlocklin. In the right corner, it's Eddie Miles against Greg Smith. Don Smith now goes to that corner, driving. Rodgers and
You saw Lou Alcindor go all the way out to the side and open the middle up, and Rodgers taking advantage of the press, driving right through, unmolested for a layup.
And it goes to Moore. Back to Komives. And here's a whistle. That is a force-up. And it'll be the blue-clad Pistons ball underneath their own basket to the left. It's 26-23 in favor of Milwaukee. And Otto Moore hits out. Moore at 6'11" in his second year in the NBA. Here's Guy Rodgers. Guy is the veteran of this ball club. Alcindor gets it in tight. He's tough inside. He misses the shot against Moore, gets the rebound. And he is bumped with the body. And a technical foul has been assessed to Butch Van Bredikoff, I believe. Yes, sir. There's Butch, and look at him. The angry ex-sergeant in the Marine Corps, Butch Van Bredikoff. Welcome to the NBA season.
I think you're going to see a lot of that move by Lou Alcindor. He wheels to the right, and when he extends that right arm, there's absolutely no way to block that shot. And he's in real close. Jon McGlocklin with the technical.
You just had a shot at number 21 with a heavily taped left knee. That's Dave Bing. He was the Rookie of the Year in the NBA. And a great scorer, the NBA scoring champion in 67 and 68. We'll see more of him sometime later on in this ball game. But now it's to Lou Alcindor, the big guy shooting from the foul line. His shot is a sophomore. He scored 38 points a ball game in college. He's a great student. He had a B- average at UCLA. Jack will be visiting with him at halftime. It's now 29-25, so stay with us throughout the day. 5.5 hours of sports on ABC. That's Eddie Miles trying to make his move, and we have a whistle. We're at the arena in Milwaukee. And we mentioned Bob Cousy a moment ago, Jack, and I know that you were happy to see Bob Cousy come to Cincinnati and revive, to a degree, basketball there in that city.
Big win last night. They beat the Celtics by 2 in Boston. The first time in 13 years that the Celtics have lost a home opener.
That's Eddie Miles at the line, missing. Jack Ramsey takes Philadelphia to Cincinnati tonight. And the former Boston College coach, Bob Cousy, now in charge of the Cincinnati Royals. 29-26, a minute and 40 to go. First period. And the leaders are the home forces, Milwaukee. But Eddie Miles swipes it, misses the shot. That's Greg Smith, a left-handed jumping jack who made quite a play. Alcindor in the corner. He's trying to dribble. That's got to be the biggest dribble in the world. McGlocklin. You cannot give Jon McGlocklin that shot.
Dave Bing, number 21, seems to be moving all right, just undergone an operation about 3 weeks ago to remove bone chips from the knee.
Butch Van Bredikoff said his comeback was one of the most amazing things he's ever seen. And the shot by Dave Bing, you saw just good. Alcindor has scored 12 points in the game on his debut. Remember that 5.5 hours of sports coming up today on ABC includes football and basketball. Alcindor in the hole. He forced it. He just moved right in. The man he moved in on was Otto Moore at 205, 6'11".
The Bucks are going to Alcindor, and Alcindor is delivering, showing some fine moves inside.
Otto Moore missed with a jumper, but Dischinger was there. There's Terry right now, tipped it in.
Once again, he got away from Don Smith. Terry's been able to shake Smith and get into the rebounds and layups, as we saw just there.
A half minute to go in the first period. Milwaukee leads by 3. McGlocklin with a hook.
Basket by McGlocklin.
McGlocklin, a superstar. John has 11 points. Now bringing it up, Dave Bing barks out of command against Guy Rodgers. Dischinger against Smith on the right side, goes behind the double screen on the left. Now Miles spins away off the double screen to the right side, Bing watching him.
And inside, we see Alcindor not as concerned with Otto Moore as he was with Walter Bellamy, staying inside to concentrate on blocking the middle and getting the rebound.
You hear the horn, the buzzer sounds. That's the end of the first quarter. The score, the Milwaukee Bucks 35, the Detroit Pistons 30. You're looking at Lou Alcindor in his debut, and he scored 14 points already in this, the first quarter of NBA basketball. From Milwaukee and Jack Twyman, you've got to be impressed, not so much with the way he has scored, but the manner that he has conducted himself so far in the ball game.
I think he's been very smart out there on the basketball floor. Obviously, Walter Bellamy was intent on drawing personal fouls. Lou Alcindor is staying away from Bellamy. He's also staying away from Otto Moore. He's helping his ball club by passing. The team is cutting through. Lou Alcindor, perhaps we will see Alcindor with his emergence into the NBA do what Wesley Unseld did for the Bullets last year, make the Bucks a contender.
Alcindor now to jump number 33 against Otto Moore. And look at the difference in height. The man on the left is listed at 6'11". The man on the right listed as 7'1". And the man to throw the ball up, number 19, is John Parker. He's from Norristown. And tosses it up, and it's one by Detroit, and the jumper by Moore. Falls short. Dischinger off the hand of Rodgers with a rebound. Great block by Len Chappell into the arms of Greg Smith. That's Rodgers. McGlocklin outside. Otto Moore with a rebound. Greg Smith, who was way up there, knocked it out. Smith took it away from the 6'11" center, and Greg is only 6'5". He can really leap.
Larry Costello coming in with Len Chappell, allowing Len to try his hand at Terry Dischinger. Dischinger has been effective in this first quarter.
Dischinger so far has scored in the ball game, 4 points. The jumper by Miles and a whistle. Remember to follow this one, a football game upcoming from California, from the Coliseum, California against UCLA.
As I mentioned, Jerry, it appears that since Otto Moore has come into the ball game for Detroit, Lou Alcindor has not been as concerned with him. He's not following him outside. Moore going outside, setting picks. Alcindor content to stay inside, preventing the layup and concentrating on the rebounds. Moore is going to have to hit one from outside before Alcindor goes out, it appears.
Eddie Miles, the top draft choice of Detroit in '63, scoring at the line. It's now 35-32 with 11.5 to go in the second period. The ball club leading, the team with the ball in white, the Bucks of Milwaukee. They were the doormat in the NBA last year. They were in the cellar. They won only 25-27 games. Moore with the ball. That's McCoy McLemore back to Moore. Moore having trouble outside, as Jack told you. Rebound hauled down by Milwaukee. McLaughlin, who is not known as a great driver or a great dribbler, loses the ball, but we have a whistle. There's a college score upcoming in the first quarter. Illinois 6 and Indiana nothing. Iowa and Purdue locked up in a 7-7 tie. First quarter, 0-0, USC and Notre Dame. Now back to basketball here at the arena. Lou Alcindor's debut, and it's been a good one so far. He has scored 14 big ones. That's Len Chappell.
There we saw the varied offense of the Bucks. Alcindor coming high, opening it up inside. A lot of picks on the part of the other four players for the Bucks, opening up Lenny Chappell.
A 5-point lead for Milwaukee. Outside, Walker now goes to Dave Bing with a jumper.
Basket by Bing.
Bing scoring, and it's now 37-34. Outside on the right with the ball, Guy Rodgers. He's their playmaker. He's been around many clubs in the NBA. That's Alcindor with the rebound. Misses the shot, and Otto Moore clears away for Detroit. Alcindor is back on defense. The shot is missed by Walker and goes out of bounds. One thing that's interesting to note about Alcindor is his speed. You know, he outran the Packers and the Bucks in the 300-meter dash in training camp. We have an out-of-bounds call.
Andy Rudolph claiming the ball was tipped, so the Detroit Pistons retain possession of the ball. Flynn Robinson coming back in for Guy Rodgers.
Earlier we mentioned that Alcindor was was a great scorer in college. The correct statistics on his college career, 26.4. Last year he averaged 24 in college for UCLA. A jumper by Miles.
Basket by
Now
Miles.
it's 37-36, a 1-point lead for Milwaukee.
But another statistic, an NCAA record, 62% from the floor for Lou Alcindor in 3 years of college.
That's Robinson at the high post, hitting the man cutting by. Alcindor now back alone to him. He did not elect to shoot. A whale of a ball game, bangs it in. The thing that makes McGlocklin so great this year is that he can gamble on defense with Alcindor, and he can shoot outside because Alcindor is inside, and he knows if he misses, Lou might be there to get it. Bill Russell's specialty.
That's what makes a team very tough. There we have slow motion of that. There you see Butch Komives driving through. 33, Lou Alcindor going up and getting it at the top of the jump.
This might be the start of a new era in professional basketball. For the last 11 out of 13 years, it was Bill Russell. Now Bill is gone, and you're watching today perhaps the start of a new era in professional basketball. It might be called the coming of the Big A, Lou Alcindor. He misses the 7-footer and the rebound by Otto Moore. 39-36, 8:50 to go, second period. And that's Dave Bing with that bad wheel passing off to the left-hander Komives. Foul against McLemore. He's on the back of someone.
There you see again the loose ball foul where they did not have possession. The foul was called on a rebound to preclude the walking down the floor to shoot the foul shot. The Bucks take the ball out of bounds. I think it's a good rule, Jerry.
Certainly prevents the play from being stopped, as it were. And excessive foul shooting. That was McGlocklin again, making a fine move. John is one of the good foul shooters in the league, as we told you, and if he drives more this year, he'll be at that line a lot more. Of course, when he drives, if he finds the center dropping off on him, he can hit the big guy this year, Alcindor. 8 minutes to go. 41-36 Milwaukee. Robinson blocked by Miles. He gets it back. That's Chappell. No good. And what a battle between Greg Smith and Otto Moore, and Smith was climbing on his back.
Jerry, it's a little early in the season and a little early in the ball game, but Alcindor appears to me to be just a little bit tired. He didn't come back down the floor on the last 2 occasions, and he's standing at half court catching his breath. Perhaps we might see Larry Costello have to give him a little rest here early in the second quarter. Alcindor not coming down. I think he's just a little bit tired.
So far, it has appeared as though the physical problems that everyone thought he would have under the boards, at least against Bellamy, they don't appear to be as big a problem as some people thought. But Jack, your point about stamina may be a big thing. It's a long season in the NBA, and it's not just playing, it's the travel that gets to you as well. Alcindor working off the high post, his pass knocked away by Detroit. 7:40 to go. 41-37 second quarter. The ball club with the ball is in the lead, Milwaukee. Alcindor bobbles the ball. Let's see if they call it. A 3-second violation against
3-second violation.
Tom Workman, who just acquired by Detroit for $1,000 on the waiver list, led the charge from the bench along with Walt Bellamy. And now Mendy Rudolph tells him to sit down. Alcindor, you see him there.
He looks a little tired, Jerry. He's breathing heavily, and he's guarding Otto Moore, and Otto Moore is just not even looking at the basket, so he's got to turn around and try and take a shot. Alcindor just sagging off inside, not paying any attention to Otto Moore.
He's going to give him that outside shot. That's Dave Bing, missing. And Dischinger with the rebound, falls out of bounds, back to Bing. Right into the arms of Robinson on the bounce pass. Knocked away by Bing and out of bounds. Number 30, Komives, goes to the third row. We're at the Milwaukee Arena, NBA basketball. ABC's Wide World of Sports bringing you Lou Alcindor's professional basketball debut. Komives comes out of the ball game. And in for the first time, Freddie Crawford, number 16, inbounding now to Alcindor. McLemore battling for it, and it goes now to Detroit. 41-37, Milwaukee leads.
There's that long extension Alcindor has on his jump shot, much like Mel Counts of the Lakers. He gets that ball up so high, it's very hard to even reach it to attempt to block it.
Komives having it knocked away, gets it back from Robinson, knocked away from behind. Picking it up, Don Smith. He goes to Crawford, now to Robinson. Look at Otto Moore snatch that rebound away. Komives brings it up. Alcindor did not get back on that play. He has done what Russell used to do. If he rests at all, rest on offense. At least he has shown that so far this afternoon. We have a foul on the play. The basket counts. And with a timeout here in the second quarter, the score is Milwaukee 41 and Detroit 39. McCoy McLemore. McLemore 6'7" from Drake. This will be Mac's 6th year in the NBA. His shot makes it 41-40. And Milwaukee with the ball. That's Crawford bringing it up. Brett Crawford going to Flynn Robinson, now to Chappell. They're playing him up high and tight. The pass to Alcindor.
Basket by Alcindor. Basket by Alcindor.
He is such a big man. Otto Moore against Alcindor in the hole. Dave Bing outside. Missing an Alcindor with a rebound.
Once again, there you see the benefit of Alcindor not having to guard Moore. He's staying back in underneath the basket. He's virtually uncontested on the rebound.
And for a moment it was 4-on-5 as Lou comes back slowly, now makes the move. Left! No basket. That's a charge against with the elbow against Alcindor.
There you saw him palm the ball and use his right hand to fend off Otto Moore. Here it is again. Alcindor making his move. There you see his right arm blocking Otto Moore right there. An offensive foul by Lou Alcindor.
It's a pretty good chop by Alcindor. A jumper from the left is good by McCoy McLemore. And now it's 43 Milwaukee, 42 for Detroit. In all fairness, you must say that Detroit, without Hap Hairston and with an injured Dave Bing, they have some problems today, but nonetheless, they're playing well so far, and it's 43-42.
They sure are, Jerry. And in addition to the two you mentioned, they're not getting much offense out of the pivot. They're staying right in this ball game.
That's the second team foul called against Detroit, and the first one called against Butch Komives. And you're looking right now at Flynn Robinson. Robinson has a lifetime mark of 82% at the line.
Robinson has been red hot in the exhibition series, averaging close to 30 points a game. And again, Larry Costello feels that his shooting is going to take a lot of pressure off of Lou Alcindor inside, not allowing teams to sag in.
Milwaukee leads by a 45-42 count. That's Don Smith. Intercepted by Komives. He battled through two men. 2-on-2, and that's Bing faking the jumper to McLemore. A left-hander is missed. Rebound by Don Smith. That's Crawford. Over to Robinson on Dischinger, and a whistle. And a foul going to be called here against Detroit, and Dissinger's unhappy. In addition to the Baltimore and Cincinnati games tonight, Len Wilkins takes his Seattle club into Chicago. Jimmy Walker in the ball game. Number 24, you're looking at him right now. He's getting a fresh start with Butch Van Bredikoff as his coach. Foul shot is good by Robinson.
We saw Jimmy Walker coming in for Dave Bing. Dave has not competed in the last 3 weeks, and he's a little tired over there on the bench with Van Bredikoff. He's going to have to play himself into shape very gradually.
A 5-point lead for Milwaukee. 47-42. Bringing it up and shooting and scoring. McLemore. McCoy McLemore makes the play. It's now 47-44, and that's Robinson trying to hit Alcindor. Moore breaks it up, and it is out of bounds. And a fine play by Otto Moore. Got to have some quickness to stay with Alcindor. Dandridge comes back in the ball game. Number 10, you see him there. He's their fine rookie. He's out of Norfolk State, 6'6". So it is Dandridge against McLemore. Alcindor against Moore, fronting him now. And in the right corner, Don Smith against Dischinger.
You know, Jerry, Otto Moore doing a pretty good job on defense. Alcindor was 14 in the first quarter, has 2 thus far in the second quarter.
That is a goaltending called against Alcindor, and watch him pin it off the backboard, which is illegal. Watch it.
Basket by Dischinger.
You just can't do that right there. You can't pin the ball on the backboard, Jerry, and therein is the infraction.
So it's 2 points now. It makes it a 47-46 game, and Dandridge shoots. And the rookie, a bit nervous, all alone, misses it. The rebound by Detroit. In tight to Dischinger. He scores, and he was really belted. He didn't like the ball, or the lack of same on the play. But evidently he got a piece of the ball.
Before the game, Terry Dischinger said he's never felt better in his life, and he's sure showing it out there. He's getting down the floor, shooting real well.
Alcindor with his club behind by a point, misses the shot, and here comes Komives. That's Jimmy Walker. And an offensive foul to be called against Dischinger. Trying to set the picket fence on the left side. That is his 4th foul, and for Terry, his 2nd offensive foul. 48-47, Detroit leading Milwaukee. 3.5 left to go in the first half. Alcindor with the ball. Back outside to Robinson. Brilliant block by Komives.
Larry Costello over there on the bench yelling, get it to the center, get it to the center. Cut off of Alcindor. Costello wants to get a little more movement into the Buck offense.
And he comes back with his playmaker, Guy Rodgers.
And I think that's why we're seeing Rodgers get that ball moving around. Work off of Alcindor.
Now he has a good penetrating guard. And the man who just had the ball, Crawford, and back it goes to Alcindor, who missed the shot, and he's down, but he's all right. It's now 5-on-4. In the right corner, Eddie Miles goes to McLemore. Drives by Smith. Misses the shot, and Smith with a rebound. Throws it out of bounds. This is a hopeful crowd, a crowd anticipating a change in basketball here in Milwaukee. Hopeful that Lou Alcindor will make the difference. Right now it's 48-47. Alcindor on the interception. Jumped in front of Otto Moore. And here come the Bucks, down by 1 with 3 minutes to go in the first half. In the hole to Alcindor. He's shown a left-handed shot and a right-handed shot.
Basket by Alcindor. Basket by Alcindor.
49-48, the Bucks lead.
It's obvious what Larry Costello told Guy Rodgers, get the ball inside the Lou.
And for many years he was with Wilt Chamberlain, feeding another great offensive threat.
Basket by Walker.
Walker bangs it in outside, and it's 50-49 in favor of Detroit. 2:40 to go. Guy Rodgers bringing it up. Komives dropping off him, giving him the outside shot. Alcindor misses the shot, and an offensive foul against the big guy. He again extended the elbow that was not in possession of the ball.
This is what we've heard of Alcindor. He's overly aggressive, and we didn't see it in the first quarter, but we've seen 2 offensive fouls here in the second quarter.
Miles against Dandridge has it. Now to Komives against Rodgers. Both men left-handed and both quite quick. The shot by Komives. No good, and again down Smith with a board. 50-49, 2:15 to go. Out of bounds she goes. We're in the second quarter. Remember, this year you only have 4 fouls before you're in the penalty situation. On the 5th foul instead of 6 last year. Now you're only allowed 4 before the penalty. That's Dandridge. Rodgers outside. 51-50. 2 minutes, 3 seconds left to go in the second period. And with the ball, the blue-clad Detroit Pistons are trailing the Bucks of Milwaukee. On a switch. Walker now has the big guy and shoots outside. That's Crawford. John Smith. Oh, makes quite a play. Dandridge. Bob Dandridge. He was their 4th draft choice. And the Bucks lead by 3. And with 1.5 minutes to go, there's a timeout here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin with the score. Milwaukee Bucks 53, Detroit Pistons 50. Back to the Lou Alcindor NBA debut. Here's the big guy, number 33. He's scored 18 points. It's live from Milwaukee on ABC's Wide World of Sports. Remember, our premiere in the NBA Game of the Week begins on December 25th. It'll be in Phoenix, the Suns against the Boston Celtics. We invite you to join us for that one. Here's Jimmy Walker bringing it up. The Bucks lead by 3, and a whistle.
Foul on Dandridge.
Away from the ball, a foul called.
Second personal, 14th foul.
Dandridge. So the rookie was pushing, and at the line is the man with the golden arm from Seattle, Eddie Miles.
Here's the difference in that loose ball foul. The team, the Detroit Pistons, had possession of the ball, and that's the key determining factor. Although it was off the ball, the Pistons had possession, so the shot is taken.
It's 53-51 with 1:26 to go in the first half. Remember, California against UCLA, football immediately following this basketball game. Chris Schenkel, Bill Fleming, and Bud Wilkinson reporting on ABC. Foul right now called against Jimmy Walker. And here's Fred Crawford at the line. Crawford was with St. Bonaventure in college, his 4th year in the NBA, lives in New York. He contracted tuberculosis and looked like he was going to be out of basketball for life, but he had quite a comeback. Spent a year and a half with the Lakers. 53-51. He missed the shot. And here's McLemore with a move, and a fine one indeed over John Smith. Now it's 53 all with 1 minute to go in the first half. Crawford brings it up. He's against Walker. And a whistle.
Let him run. You got the 20 hold.
A hold against Otto Moore, trying to contain Alcindor as he moved to the high post. Look at Butch. He's checking the time up above and maybe looking for help up above, too.
He's in a little trouble with Otto Moore and Walter Bellamy, his only 2 centers, having a little trouble guarding Lou Alcindor.
Moore has 2 fouls on him, and Bellamy has 3. And Alcindor looks like he conceivably could foul out a whole ball club. His shot is good at the foul line. He has now gone 3 for 3, and he misses one. It's 2 points, and there's a fine example of the new change and a forward-thinking change by the NBA Rules Committee. Now the 2 points goes to the man who tipped it in. In years gone by, it would be only 1 point, and the 1 point would be for the guy at the foul line.
That, too, Jerry, is an excellent rule.
56-53, so the man who worked hardest gets credit for it and gets 2 points. Alcindor off the top of the head with a rebound. That's Crawford. The Bucks have come bouncing back and lead by 5. 25 seconds left to go in the first half. And Jack Twyman will be speaking live from the arena here at halftime with Commissioner Walter Kennedy and Lou Alcindor. We invite you to stay tuned for what we hope will be a very interesting halftime show. An offensive foul against Otto Moore, his 3rd.
Once again, we've seen Alcindor, 33 there, drawing the offensive foul from Otto Moore. A very agile Lou Alcindor, by stepping back and allowing his the man he's guarding to make the move, he has drawn 3 offensive fouls.
Rodgers loses the ball, and with 4 seconds to go in the first half, Milwaukee leads by 5, but Detroit brings it back. Rodgers steals it. He shoots. Bingo! It's good. The basket counts. And that's the end of the second quarter. We'll be back for a look at what personalities around the league have to say about Lou Alcindor in just a moment. The score here is Milwaukee 60, Detroit 53. Halftime at the Milwaukee Arena, the score is 60 for Milwaukee, 53 for Detroit. And right now, here's Jack Twyman with Lou Alcindor.
Lou, you've just played your first 24 minutes as a pro. What are your impressions of this first half?
It's kind of hard to say. You know, I'm really caught up in the midst of it. I want to make the best contribution to the team, and I made quite a few mistakes, and I'm worried about it. But, you know, that's something I have to overcome.
Lou, you mentioned your contribution to the team. Nate Thurman feels that if he contributes 45 points, adding assists, rebounds, and points, he will make his contribution to the team. What do you feel you have to do out there in the way of points, rebounds, etc., for your Milwaukee Bucks to win?
Well, I feel I have to score a few points, and I have to get the rebounds, I have to make a few defensive assists. That's really what they need me for, because we have some guards that aren't too big. They might get posted, and you know, I'm supposed to be helping out inside.
Lou, Wesley Unseld said his biggest adjustment was that of stamina. You got to play every night. You have to play 100 games as opposed to 20. Do you think that you at 225 will be able to play every night at peak efficiency?
Well, I believe so, because I won't be heavy. I won't have to worry about running. I haven't had any problem with running so far, and that really is the key. If you can run, I think you can do it.
How about giving away some 40, 50 pounds to the Wilt Chamberlains, 20 pounds here, which didn't bother you at all today? Do you think that over a long season it might tend to wear you down a little bit?
No, I think it's going to work for me, because, like I said, I have less weight to carry. It's going to be less of a burden on myself. All I have to do is just remain strong.
Lou, let me ask you something. Jerry Gross and I, at the start of the ball game, for some 7-8 minutes, totally. You walked around at half court. You seemed to be talking to yourself. Was it a form of psyching yourself up for this ball game? Do you do that every game?
No, yeah, I do that every game. It's just a habit I got into in college. I take my shots, I wait till I'm loose, and then I just, you know, try and get loose mentally. You know, no concentration on any one thing.
Fine, Lou, thank you. Your first half has been tremendous. I hope the rest of your career is equally as fine.
Thanks a lot, Jack.
Thank you.
Milwaukee has out-rebounded Detroit by 8, 25-17. And oddly enough, both ball clubs have shot 50% from the field. Both teams shooting over 80% from the line, so it's been a fine first half. 85.5% for Milwaukee and 82% for Detroit. Bellamy now against Alcindor. Jack, here we go.
And you know, Jerry, it was interesting how analytical Lou Alcindor was in appraising his play in the first half. He felt he took some bad shots. He felt he didn't get enough movement. Let's see if he's going to do a little differently here in this second half.
McLemore brings it back to within 5, and now it goes into the hole to Alcindor against Bellamy. Over his head, he scores. Alcindor 9 for 18.
And you can see the ball going to Alcindor. Bellamy in foul trouble. The Bucks want to try and get that 4th and 5th foul on Walter Bellamy, so he's going to probably leave Alcindor alone for a while.
This is the biggest lead that Milwaukee has had, 7. Bellamy with the jumper. And the rebound hauled down underneath by Dandridge. The fine rookie, Bob Dandridge from Richmond, Virginia. That's Robinson. Bellamy grabbing the rebound away from Alcindor, and he steals it away from him, and the Bell steals it back. McLemore picks it up. 62-55, and a technical against Walter Bellamy. He said the magic word to the referee, John Parker. He felt evidently he was fouled on the play, and the technical is assessed against the Big Bell. It is not a personal foul, but a technical. And to shoot it, Jon McGlocklin. McGlocklin from Indiana. He had 19.5 points a game last year, and he might have a better year this year. John is a good shooter. Now it's 63-55, the biggest lead for Milwaukee. They're up by 8. We're in the third period with 11 minutes to go. Eddie Miles against the rookie, Dandridge. Back to Bellamy. And he's short with a line drive right-hander. Komives with a steal. And Butch scores. Makes it now 63-57.
You notice Alcindor did not come out on Walter Bellamy. Bellamy taking the shot from the top of the key, did not make it, and Lou is going to make him make one or two before he comes out to challenge him.
So it would appear that teams with a good outside shooting center, they'll draw Alcindor out, but if you do not have that good outside shooter, look out. A block play brilliantly by McLemore. And the rebound by Miles now to Jimmy Walker. In the corner, that's Komives. 63-57, Milwaukee leading. Bellamy sets the pick. And now picking him up on a pick and roll and scoring Bellamy.
Basket by Bellamy.
Alcindor switched and left his man open as he rolled inside, and Lou just went to school on that play. 63-59, that's Alcindor. And he's Alcindor is now 10 out of 19 from the field.
Jerry, that's a very good point. Lou going to school. Lou is benefiting by every experience here, and he was taken in on a simple give and go there, and knowing Alcindor and the way he approaches the game, I don't think it'll happen too many more times.
That's McLemore driving baseline left, blocked by Alcindor, and that's goaltending. When the ball is on its downward arc, you cannot hit it. And it appeared as though it was a good call by the trail referee, John Parker. So it is 65-61, a 4-point lead for Milwaukee. And a jumper by Smith. That's Don Smith. No good, and hits the top of the backboard and rolls out of bounds.
You notice the Pistons, the book on Don Smith is that he cannot hit the outside shot, and that's the way they're playing him. They were 5 to 6 feet off of him, and they're trying to sag in and help Bellamy out on Alcindor.
And you just saw it flashed on the screen coming up next from California. Football with UCLA against California. 5.5 hours of sports this afternoon on ABC. Here's Eddie Miles at the line. You note he wears sweatbands on his wrists to keep the perspiration off his hands. Some players like the way they apply the stickum on their fingers when they shoot. It's illegal, but they try and get away with it. Other players don't like to have any perspiration at all, or any stickum. 65-62, Alcindor with a hook. It's no good. He's now 10 for 19. A moment ago, 10 for 20 now. Dandridge scores. So they're starting a pair of rookies. The Bucks with their ball club this year.
Jerry, a frightening statistic. That front line of the Bucks averages 22 years of age. They're going to be around a long time.
Walker goes to Komives. And it's 67 for Milwaukee and 64 for Detroit. We have 8 minutes, 45 seconds left to go in the third period. That's Robinson driving and beating everyone.
Basket by Robinson.
Robinson, number 21. UCLA against California. Football upcoming next on ABC. Knocked away. And goes out of bounds. In addition to the 3 games we've mentioned already tonight in the NBA, Red Holzman has his New York Knickerbockers hot already with 3 wins in a row at home against the Lakers. That's tonight. Komives scoring. He's the next Knick. Jerry West had himself a great night last night with 39 points. And he's against the Knicks tonight at Madison Square Garden. McGlocklin misses one. Finally, John's been hot, 6 for 9 from the field. And it's 69 to 66 with 8 minutes to go. Milwaukee leading. Eddie Miles misses. Knocked out of bounds by 2 Bucks. Jon Smith and Alcindor. And a foul call.
Personal, first team foul.
A loose ball foul. There's another typical example of the loose ball foul. No shooting foul, unless in the penalty situation, but charged to the team.
You know, you can't help but be impressed with the movement the Milwaukee Bucks have. Here we have Alcindor high, setting picks, trying to get some movement for his other 4 players.
The last foul, Jack, was on Eddie Miles. Bringing it up, that's the Bucks. John Smith. Robinson with that fadeaway jump. Oh, what a shot. Komives just looks at him as if, I can't believe that shot.
He gets that ball back so far, Jerry, it's very difficult to get back and block it.
Which was right inside his jersey. Jump shot, no good by Walker. Missed by Miles. That's Bellamy fighting his way in there for the score.
Basket by Bellamy.
71-68, but Dandridge comes back for 2. He can run, that kid.
Bellamy had a crack at blocking the layup, but he didn't want to get the foul, so he just let Dandridge go in unmolested for the layup.
Jack Twyman and Jerry Gross speaking to you from Milwaukee, where it's 73-68. On ABC's Wide World of Sports, Alcindor's debut. Walker makes it 73-70, and we continue
Timeout,
the squeaker
Milwaukee.
right here at the arena in Milwaukee. Timeout here in the third quarter in Milwaukee with the score. The Bucks 73 and Detroit 70. 14-7, second period. Maryland over Duke. Second quarter, North Carolina State over Virginia. 7-0 Virginia Tech ahead in that one, and Tennessee over Alabama. Diving right in front of our microphone, Dandridge loses the ball, and Jack Twyman comes up with his first play of the year.
My first pass of my career.
That might be. You didn't even pass the salt at dinner last night. 73-70, that's the score with 6:40 to go. Bringing it up on the right side, that's Komives. Detroit trails by 3. Jimmy Walker with the ball. Shooting outside, and it's short. Alcindor blocked out Bellamy well underneath, away from the ball. And the rebound falls into the lap of Dandridge. And here's Robinson bringing it up. That's his jumper from the right. Fadeaway.
Dandridge at 195, number 10 there. 6'6", 195, doing a real fine job on the boards.
And the rookie has banged home 10 points in his debut. Here's Komives bringing it up. It's a 5-point lead now for Milwaukee. 6 minutes to go.
Basket by Bellamy.
There you notice they tried to run the same play that shook Bellamy open for the layup before. Alcindor wisely stepped back, allowing the guard to slide through.
75-72. The team with the ball leading. There's the pass into the guard underneath. The guards are going inside the forwards and working either to the baseline, outside, or cutting across.
Jerry, the reason the Bucks are moving so much is the unselfish attitude of Alcindor. If a player knows if he makes a move and he's going to get the ball once he gets open, it gives him a little incentive, and that's just what Alcindor, a very unselfish ball player. He's hitting these Bucks when they get open, and they're going to continue to get open because they know they're going to get the ball.
28-year-old Flynn Robinson scoring. He was a great star at Wyoming, 65, 6'1". He makes it now 77-72. 5.5 to go, third period. Detroit trailing Lou Alcindor and the Bucks of Milwaukee. And again, Bellamy bangs it in outside. 2 in a row. Will Alcindor come out? We'll watch the next time down.
I got it. The ball's in backcourt. 30 clock. Foul on Komives.
Foul called against Butch Komives.
Backcourt foul, Jerry.
So the big guy goes to the line. Lou Alcindor. Alcindor, as a collegian from the foul line, was not a great one at all. He only hit on 63% in 3 years of college ball.
There's his college scoring average, 26.4. We should qualify that Alcindor was not in the backcourt, but because the team had possession of the ball in the backcourt and the ball was still in the backcourt when the foul was committed, Lou is shooting 2 shots.
Lou Alcindor, born in New York City with his parents up here today, and what a great warm welcome they received just a moment ago as they were introduced to the crowd. 78-74, that's the score. The Bucks lead. 5:18 to go, and that's Bellamy powering his way in for the score, and he's fouled.
So we've seen Bellamy with 3 consecutive baskets. Now Alcindor will have to concern himself more with Bellamy as an individual. Play him a little tighter, and it should be an interesting situation, Jerry.
Bellamy now has 15 points, and it's 24 for Alcindor. So Bellamy's had a fine second half as Alcindor controlled the first half. And who knows, perhaps that stamina factor might be a big factor here with Alcindor in the second half.
There you see Bellamy with 20 more points, using that weight, the 20 more pounds, using that weight on Alcindor inside.
And he's really bumping him with the elbow and fend him off with the elbow, warding him away. No basket, no basket. That is an offensive goaltending call against Alcindor, and he'll have to learn to leave the ball alone on the rim.
Can't touch the ball. There we'll see it again. There you see Alcindor touching the ball on the inside of the rim. You're not allowed to do that in the NBA.
And the trail referee, Mendy Rudolph, caught it, so it's no basket. 78-77, Bellamy, and a great block shot by Alcindor. He blocked it as it was on its way up. It was a legal block. That's his 3rd block shot of the afternoon. Alcindor with Bellamy leaning on him with his elbows. Barrels his way, and it's in and out. Greg Smith with the rebound. Bellamy really working him over away from the ball now. He's leaning on him, hitting him with the elbow around the waist. Look at that elbow.
There you see
Look
the
at
elbow on his wrist here. Look at that. Bellamy using that weight.
That's much like a boxer working on the stomach during a fight, and look out in the late round. 4 minutes to go, 3rd quarter, 78-77. Milwaukee clinging to the lead.
And Bellamy charged up. Bellamy leading the fast break, and Lou Alcindor late getting down.
And again they collide underneath the board as he tries to go to the high post. And the shot taken by the rookie in the corner, Dandridge. Dandridge makes it 80-77. And they have told us all along that the book on this kid is he's a good outside shooter. As a matter of fact, he hit an amazing 58.5% from the field in college. And here's Dave Bay back in the ball game.
1 throw.
You'll see his left leg if they shoot down later on, if he goes to the foul line. There it is. There's Bing's leg. He's really had problems with that. Surgery less than a month ago, and here he is playing. That's an Elgin Baylor story.
You know, Bellamy is such a key player on this Detroit club. He's alive now. He's playing inspired ball here in the second half, and he's bringing this ball club back. It's so important in the NBA to have a good player in that center position.
Greg Smith with a tight right rebound slot pulls it down off the boards. It's 80-77. Guy Rodgers with the ball. Rodgers against Komives. In it goes to Alcindor. Double teamed and knocked out of bounds by Eddie Miles. Rodgers. He's now in his 12th year in the NBA. He's a 4-time All-Star with the ball. Gives to Dandridge. Dandridge back to McLaughlin. Back to Rodgers. Rodgers from Temple shooting outside. That is not his strength. They normally give him the shot. Here comes Detroit. They're trailing by 3. Intercepted by Smith. He falls out of bounds and gives it to McLaughlin. That's Dandridge, 3-on-1. Rodgers.
And you saw Bellamy wisely not try and block the shot on Rodgers. With Bellamy playing the way he's playing now, the last thing they want is him to get in foul trouble.
A 5-point lead. Bellamy way out on the right has it. 5-point lead for Milwaukee. That's Bing, and obviously that left leg is bothering him. 82-77, Dandridge.
Pistons calling a strategic timeout to try and stop the momentum of the Milwaukee Bucks here. The Bucks charging back, led by Lou Alcindor, Guy Rodgers quarterbacking the ball club.
And it's a 7-point lead with 2:54 to go. You'll note that when Bing shoots on his left leg, his push-off leg, he is hampered by it. He cannot get up the way he used to, and until that leg comes back, he'll have some problems. That's Dischinger's shot blocked, and he gets it back. Terry misses, and the rebound. Fought for it again. It's one of the Smith boys. Gregg, out of bounds, as the pass goes too far. You'll see a running, exciting Milwaukee ball club this year. And I know those of you in San Diego listening are looking forward to Wednesday with Elvin Hayes against the big guy in San Diego, October 22nd. He'll draw him wherever he goes this year. It'll be quite a year for the Bucks. That's Bing. His push-off foot is his left foot. See how he favored it as he went down? He's going to have his problems, number 21, getting that leg back in shape. Dave Bing.
You know, we saw Lou Alcindor just drop back on that pick. They've tried to run it twice after it was successful, and Alcindor has stepped back, allowing his guard to slide through.
Bellamy misses the outside shot. Dandridge with a rebound. Goes to Rodgers. 84-77 Milwaukee. 2 minutes, 4 seconds to go. We're in the third period. The biggest lead by either team has been 8. Here's the jumper by Dandridge. That's short. He gets it back. Looks for Alcindor, warding him off, keeping him outside. Bellamy, look at him with the elbow away from the ball.
You know, Jerry, at this stage of a ball game, a fellow like Rodgers in that backcourt with 12 years experience can settle a ball club down, and they work to get McGlocklin the shot, and he put it through.
18 for Moose. Well, he was with the San Diego ball club. We used to kid him and call him the Carl Yastrzemski of basketball. That's driving and missing with a shot, Dischinger. You take a close look at Jon McGlocklin. He does look a little bit like a baseball player. People nowadays will be saying Yastrzemski looks like McGlocklin if he continues to play the way he is, and if Alcindor continues to play the way he has shown so far. Here's Len Chappell in the ball game, and Dandridge gets a fine round of applause as he comes out. That was his 5th foul.
You know, Dandridge had those 2 outside shots. Lenny Chappell, they're sagging in on Alcindor. Lenny Chappell, a fine outside shooter, will probably draw that defense out, and they'll make him guard it.
Dischinger, who sat out a couple of years in the Army, misses the 2nd shot. Bing gets the rebound. Look at him go. That's Dischinger, who has great mobility, missing the shot. McLemore faking out Alcindor and scoring.
Basket by McLemore.
And it's 86-80. A 6-point lead for Milwaukee with 1:15 to go. And somebody is getting the bounce. Number 5, Mendy Rudolph, is going to throw someone right out of the arena. One of the Pistons is gone. I don't know if that's Paul Long he's thrown out or not.
That's Paul Long. Paul Long, Butch Van Bredekoff smiling and helping Paul Long. A little vociferous on the bench.
Paul was hollering earlier along with Tom Workman, and Long has just been run right out of here. And the immortal words of an ejected man, I didn't say a word.
And McGlocklin made the foul shot for the technical for the Milwaukee Bucks.
87-80, the Bucks still in possession, they lead. 1:08 to go, third quarter. They're using Alcindor at the high post upon occasions. That's Chappell outside.
There's that outside shooting I was talking about, Jerry. They're going to have to come out and guard Lenny Chappell.
To give Lenny some room outside, get him a pick, and he's tough. He won a ball game here last year from the top of the key with a jumper at the buzzer, beating the Rockets in San Diego. 89-80 with the ball. Milwaukee, they have the lead. There's Rodgers moving right to left. That's Greg Smith. The Bucks can do no wrong.
You know, it's interesting at this stage of the game. They're going to Guy Rodgers. They have confidence in his experience.
Bing bringing it up in a whistle. The Bucks are beating Detroit at what used to be their game. The scrambling, fast-moving style of basketball that, frankly, without Hap Hairston, Detroit has not really had to a great degree this afternoon.
But to their credit, to this point, they've hung in this ball game.
Robinson replaces McLaughlin in the Bucks
There's
lineup.
a timeout here in the third quarter with 28 seconds to go in the score. Milwaukee 91, Detroit 80.
Jerry, I think we're seeing the versatility of this Milwaukee Buck ball club. They've opened up an 11-point lead without the services of Alcindor. That's kind of a silly statement, but Alcindor has not scored. They've been sagging in on Alcindor, and the outside ball players, Flynn Robinson, Jon McGlocklin, have been hitting the shots to open up this 11-point lead.
There's Dave Bing, a two-time All-Star, now in his 4th year in the NBA, and making it with 28 seconds to go, 91-81. The Bucks up by 10. Their biggest bulge was 11. Guy Rodgers brings it up against Dave Bing. Dave having trouble going laterally on that bad wheel. Chappell at the high post to Alcindor at the low post. They want him to shoot. He does. He misses, and the rebound by McLemore, stolen away by Flynn Robinson, but he carries it out of bounds.
Jerry, Lou Alcindor visibly upset at himself because Bellamy's weight has influenced him in his shooting, and he's not shooting, and he's not too pleased with the way he's shooting out there.
It's a man-to-man press all over the court by Robinson and Rodgers, but Komives breaks it. The shot's missed at the buzzer. That's the end of the 3rd quarter with a score here in Milwaukee. 91 for the Bucks, 81 for the Pistons. The All-Star game, the NBA All-Star game this year, January 20th in Philadelphia. ABC will be there. And the premier game for the NBA Game of the Week will be in Phoenix on December 25th. Tom Workman in the game now for Detroit. Walker has it to Dischinger, who moving, shoots and misses. Rebounded underneath by Bellamy, and he's tied up in a jump ball between the Big Bell and the Big A.
Tom Workman, number 23, acquired just yesterday from Baltimore to try and fill the shoes of Steve Mix, their first draft choice, who was drafted into the service for 5 months.
Flynn Robinson has the ball. 11 minutes, 45 seconds left to go in the game. A 10-point lead for the team in white, Milwaukee, featuring Lou Alcindor, who has scored 24 points. A jumper on the left, no good, and the rebound by Dischinger. That's Dave Bing, and he has it stolen away from behind, knocked away by Robinson to Rodgers, and that's Rodgers having it knocked off his knee and out of bounds by Walker.
You know, Dave Bing is just not moving as well as he normally does, Jerry. He's bothered by that knee, and the Bucks are trying to take advantage of it, clearing the side for Flynn Robinson to work one-on-one against Bing.
We're seeing quite a battle between centers here today, Alcindor and Bellamy. There's going to be quite a battle in San Francisco tonight. Franklin Muley's Nate Thurman will be up against Elvin Hayes. That should be quite a battle in San Francisco this evening. Here come the Bucks. It's 3-on-3 in the right lane. Robinson with Bing knocking it away. 91-81 here. Detroit trailing Milwaukee. Detroit beat Milwaukee. They were one spot above them last year. Bing with those quick hands knocks it away. It's 2-on-1. Workman on the right gets it, drives, and misses the layup. Rebounded by Chappell, who goes to Greg Smith. There's the left-hander's jumper. Ba-boom!
Once again, the Bucks showing a real fine fast break. Alcindor and Len Chappell working the boards, getting it out, and they're moving that ball down and getting the layups.
This is the biggest lead so far in the game by Milwaukee. They're up by 12. Bing again short with a jumper. Bellamy
Basket
whacks
by
it
Bellamy.
in. And the big guy has 18 points against Alcindor's 24. Robinson, 1-on-3, score.
Basket by Robinson.
10 minutes, 13 seconds left.
Once again, Jerry, I think you have to be objective and say that Alcindor is bothered a little bit. He's taking a little rest out there. He's a little tired, and as a result, he's not going out after Bellamy as much as he did at the outset of the ball game. So perhaps all the rumors about his stamina are true, and this could be a factor in his NBA career.
An offensive foul against Guy Rodgers, and the veteran does not like the call. Gives the ball up, a 10-point lead. Still plenty of time with the NBA. Oftentimes we've seen leads in the last 10 years of 20 points. With 10 minutes to go down the drain. A jumper by Bellamy off the back of the rim. That's Guy Rodgers, the smallest man on the court, grabbing it. Robinson against Workman. Back to the trail left, Greg Smith. The Boston Ball Club will do that well. They have a trailer down that middle lane come in off time. And that was perfectly by Greg Smith. 97-85, 9:20 to go. Dave Bing with the ball. He pulls up for his jump. The rebound tapped over to Alcindor. Guy Rodgers, look at him run now. Chappell scores.
There you see the Bucks fast breaking, and conversely, the Pistons are not working together at all. They're bringing the ball down. There's Van Britikoff, and he's not happy at all about the individual play. All they're doing is clearing the side and letting a fellow work one-on-one, as we see Walker work against Flynn Robinson.
There's again the play that gave him trouble earlier. That's the pick and roll play. And on a switch, Chappell commits the foul. The basket counts. Alcindor again did not watch his man underneath on the pick and roll. Went for the guard or the picking man, the man who set the screen. Alcindor's man went in for the layup, and he was fouled. 99-87, Jack, with 8:48 to go.
The Pistons, I'm sure, Jerry, want to get a little speed into that forecourt, so you're seeing Eddie Miles come back in for Tom Workman at forward. The Bucks' fast break has bothered the Pistons. Miles getting a little speed into that forecourt.
The 13-point lead is cut down to 99-88. Robinson with a move on Bellamy. Alcindor with a rebound score. 26 points for the big guy. And this is first game as a pro. And with 8:26 to go, he might hit 30 easily. Foul called against Milwaukee, and at the line, one of the Detroit players. UCLA against California next. Football on ABC. Otto Moore comes in the game, number 20. Dave Bing comes out of the game. So Komives is back in. Eddie Miles, Jimmy Walker, who's at the foul line, Butch Komives, Terry Dischinger, and Otto Moore for Detroit.
Now we'll see Alcindor be able to get an added rest. Otto Moore has not been successful in hitting the outside shot, so Alcindor does not have to follow him out as much as he had to follow Bellamy out, who was hot here in the second half.
Jimmy Walker, who's missed a few airplanes in his career, does not miss the 2 shots, and it's 101-90. 8:14 to go. Bringing the ball up, knocking it away. Robinson, Komives chases it, can't get it. Flynn takes the pass to Alcindor, who scores. 8 minutes to go in the game. A 103-90 lead for the downtrodden Milwaukee Bucks. Komives chasing the loose ball. Out of bounds, and Costello grabs his man Robinson. Oh, look out! Robinson and Komives get at it. And Greg Smith, who's bigger than Komives, jumps in. And we have almost some extracurricular activity. 2 shoves and Rudolph. Komives doesn't back away from anything. Certainly won't back away from Greg Smith. Let's watch it on slow motion action as a result of the play. Knocking it out of bounds, they tangle, Jack.
And there you see 30, Butch Komives going after the ball. There you see Butch, Flynn Robinson, number 21, and Butch nudges him a little bit right into the stands. So Flynn had something to say when he came off of Larry Costello's lap.
And we almost inaugurate the NBA boxing season this afternoon. 2 pushes, no swings.
I'll tell you, Jerry, I bounced off of Butch Komives. It's like bouncing off a little fireplace.
He's a tough cookie, Butch Komives. He's what you call a hard nose. And he's the kind of a guy that Van Bredikoff likes, because Butch is that kind of a guy. Komives now moves past Robinson, but it's stolen away by Greg Smith. Robinson has it, and he goes up, and it's blocked by Walker. Greg Smith on a scramble. Things getting heated here, and that's Chappell. Otto Moore with a rebound, and he's belted. To keep this game from getting out of hand, to prevent what might happen as a result of the near fight. Watch him get whacked.
You see the action underneath there. And right there, you see the foul. And Otto Moore on the line at the other end of the floor. And once again, Jerry, I don't know how significant this is, but Alcindor did not come over the half-court line and was not down at that end of the floor, taking advantage of a little rest there at this stage of the ball game.
Look at that guy. He's ready, isn't he? That's what you call, well, I guess you could call it Metzomania in New York. That might be the start of Buck Fever. 103-91's the score. 7.5 to go in the game. Now it's an 11-point lead for Milwaukee. They have the ball in white. Miles against Greg Smith. That's Walker, 24, against Fred Crawford. Crawford spinning away from him.
Crawford, like Rodgers, a pretty good ball handler and able to break that press in the backcourt.
Double teamed. Alcindor hit the open man, and he blew the shot, Greg Smith. There's a great indication. That's what a good center has to do, Jack, is be able to pass. And through the years, you find the good centers have been the ones who can help their teammates by passing as well as scoring. And boy, he just showed he could do it.
They can also help themselves because by passing, and when the opponents know that he can pass, it allows them, does not allow them to sag in on them and opens it up a little bit for them. So Alcindor, while helping his team, is helping himself.
Otto Moore. You know, if there is a deficiency in the NBA scoring champion, Elvin Hayes, that might be it. Basket good, and 105-92.
A great pass by Lou Alcindor, the length of the floor.
He has shown today he can shoot, and he'll hustle. The only question seems to be stamina.
I saw the 1969 era, an outstanding ball club. It's a very tight race and an exciting year for NBA basketball, and you'll see it right here on ABC.
That Phoenix Ball Club will be in Philadelphia next Wednesday. Hal Greer had 40 for the 76ers in a great start. So quite a year for everyone this year in the NBA. 105-92 here in Lou Alcindor's debut, and he's number 33 at the line. He has scored 28 points. So far, he has 4 fouls. Bellamy has 3. Otto Moore has 4. Alcindor goes to the foul line.
One throw.
Lou is 4 for 6 at the line and knocks it home. And we want to thank, while we're at it, our statisticians here this afternoon also. Jeff Hudson and Bill Olson for a fine job. A one-hander by Walker. And it counts. Basket's good, and there's a push on the play. So the foul may not have been against Alcindor, but he hit the ball on the downward flight, and the foul will be against one of his teammates.
Of course, you're not allowed to touch the ball on the downward flight, and that's what Larry Costello hopes Lou Alcindor will do often, because they've talked about Bill Russell's influence back there, blocking the driving lane, not allowing the team to get the layups, as we saw right there. So Alcindor is very conscious of clogging up that middle.
That was the 4th foul against Robinson, with the rebound hauled down by Milwaukee, and they now lead by 12. 6 minutes, 13 seconds to go in the game. Alcindor at the high post, into the open man, and he scores. Greg Smith, and again, the passing of Alcindor.
He hits that open man. He's always looking, and he's picking out those open players, and you're going to see those Milwaukee Bucks continue to cut because they know they're going to get the ball.
Alcindor with a rebound. 108-94. A Milwaukee 14-point lead. Bing with the ball. Back to Crawford. 5:40 to go in the game. It's all Alcindor. We'll watch him again. He's working low now. Moore trying to hold him back.
That man dribbles, Jerry.
He missed the shot, but he put on quite a display of dribbling.
Foul is on Chappell. Loose ball foul. Detroit out of bounds.
Alcindor thought he was fouled there on the move to the basket, but it was an off-the-ball foul, and Lenny Chappell going out of the ball game.
On the play, that's the 15th foul called against Milwaukee with 5:30 to go. So this is now the penalty situation. In years gone by, it used to be you had 1 more or 2 in the 2-minute period, but right now you're allotted only 4 team fouls this year. And on the 5th one, you're in the penalty situation. So Dischinger, a good foul shooter, is there. And his first one's good. He gets another one. Terry Dischinger, a great star at Purdue, now in his 6th year in the league. He was the number 2 draft choice of Chicago in '62. He was the Rookie of the Year in his first year with 25 points a game. That problem's coming back ever since he was in the service. 108-96 the score. Milwaukee leading.
And Detroit doing the only thing they can do, pressing the Bucks, trying to get that ball. They have to have that ball to try and work that deficit down.
Again, moving the play inside. At that time, the guard went outside, did not cut inside past Alcindor and then go out, but he went on the far side, the left side, and cut across. Alcindor showing he can make the play. Makes it 110-96. And Komives shoots and misses outside. Dischinger with a rebound. Back to Jimmy Walker. Walker up the middle, but Lou's there. Back outside to Miles. And he hits with 4:50 to go, and it's 110-98.
You know, Jerry, another asset that Lou Alcindor has. Last year, this ball club was confused. They lacked confidence. This year, they're a confident ball club out there. They know they can gamble. Don Smith getting a rebound, putting it back up and in. They know they can gamble like the Celtics have gambled for years. And if they get by, their defender gets by, Lou Alcindor is back there. So he has instilled a great deal of confidence in this ball club.
Bellamy with the ball, trying to move on Alcindor. Does not give ground. Back outside to Komives. 4 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the ball game. And a 14-point lead. Knocked out of bounds. And it'll be Buck's ball. Here comes McLaughlin, who has already scored double figures in the game, and he has 19. McLaughlin on the back line, now with Fred Crawford, regarded respectively by Komives and Walker. Behind the back, how do you do? Into the hole it goes. Alcindor, look how he turns and faces underneath with the ball over his head. But it's knocked away this time, and McLemore ends up on a fast break, blows it, and then tips it in.
Basket by McLemore.
McLemore bangs it home from Drake. It's in Detroit now, and it's 112 to 100 with 3:40 to go.
Saw Freddie Crawford holler high, high, high to Alcindor, so he's out high, wanting his teammates to cut through and open it up inside.
Miles blocking out Alcindor as he tried to go for the rebound. Picking it up now, Walker. Walker losing the ball, picks it up, goes to Miles. He has a long time to set, and it's switched. 112-102, a 10-point lead. 3:24 to go. There is time to come back. What a year for the NBA. New coaches, Bob Cousy, Joe Mulaney, and Len Wilkins. And the latter a playing coach with Seattle. And Larry Costello, a new coach, so to speak, this year, with the big guy, number 33.
Mendy Rudolph catches Walter Bellamy. He's been leaning on Alcindor here in the second half, and he was just leaning a little too closely there, and Mendy Rudolph called the foul on Walter Bellamy.
We're watching basketball from Milwaukee, and following this one, NCAA college football. UCLA battling against the University of California. Chris Schenkel reporting from California. 112-102. Walker missing the shot. Alcindor rips it off the board. That's John Smith over to McLaughlin. He pulls up for his jumper. And it's good. 2 minutes and 47 seconds to go, and it's 114 to 102. And the veteran, Jon McGlocklin, 26 years old, bangs it home, and it's now the lead of 12 with 2.5 to go. And it looks like it's been certainly a successful and auspicious debut for Lou Alcindor.
I think we'll see him around for quite a while, Jerry.
What a duel there will be upcoming with Chamberlain against this guy. October 24th, Friday night in Los Angeles, Milwaukee in. Jack Kent Cooke will put his powerful ball club against Big Lou. Looking even further ahead, Alcindor will meet Nate Thurman in San Francisco, Saturday, October 25th.
The Milwaukee fans didn't like that call. Mendy Rudolph saw the ball go off Lou Alcindor's leg. Detroit's ball inside. Freddie Crawford, wisely slowing it down, trying to eat up a few minutes here in the closing minutes of this ball game.
2 minutes to go. 114-104. That's McLemore against Don Smith into the cutting Bellamy, who lays it up and misses, and he's fouled. The fifth foul against Alcindor. Connie Hawkins will be up against this guy, number 33, October 26th in Phoenix. Timeout here in the fourth quarter. The score, Milwaukee 114 and Detroit 104. More college scores for you. Tied up, USC and Notre Dame and Purdue over Iowa. That's the second quarter score. 7-point lead for Indiana against Illinois in the third. And 20-zip, Ohio State over Minnesota in the second. Michigan State over Michigan in the second period. Bellamy at the foul line makes it a 9-point lead. 114 to 105, and Dandridge comes back in the ball game at 6'6". Don Smith, who's been a terror on the boards at 6'9", comes out. 3 times last year he had 23 rebounds in a ball game. He can go get them. Bellamy shooting again.
I think with Dandridge coming into the game with the press, they want a little more ball handling. Dandridge a little more of an offensive shooting threat so that they can keep that ball moving around, trying to break the Detroit press.
And double-teamed McLaughlin. Will he find the open man? He does. It's Dandridge. 1 minute and 42 to go. An 8-point lead by Milwaukee. Bellamy loses the ball, but picking it up, McLemore. Back to Bellamy between his legs, and he's got it. Hey, if they get a bucket here, things will get tight. 1.5 minutes to go. Intercepted on the block by Robinson over to Greg Smith. McLaughlin brings it up. An 8-point lead with 1 minute 24 to go and a timeout, Milwaukee.
Timeout, Milwaukee.
So with a timeout on the court and 1 minute and 22 to go, we'll take a brief pause. The score, 114 Milwaukee, 106 Detroit. For those of you watching in Detroit, Walt Bellamy and Otto Moore will get a crack back at Lou Alcindor on October 30th. Luke Jackson, who has called Alcindor as the best center ever, he has predicted that he will be the best center ever. Luke will get a chance to go against him October 31st in Philadelphia. And the great center of the New York Knickerbockers, Willis Reed, will meet Alcindor in New York City November 1st. He's in Boston November 11th, in Baltimore November 15th, and in Seattle November 21st, Chicago November 22nd. And those are dates that I know you're going to be anxious to see the great Alcindor play.
And as we have said, Jerry, as Flynn Robinson goes across the middle, he does so many things out there. He helps his ball club in so many ways, and he is a great basketball player as advertised.
6 assists so far for Alcindor in the game. And he is 12 for 27 from the field. Those are the statistics on Alcindor's first game as a pro. We have 1 minute, 1 second left in the game. 116-106. A 10-point bulge for the men in white, the Milwaukee Bucks.
16 foul on Milwaukee.
And now 3 chances to make 2 for Walt Bellamy.
3 to make
Bellamy
2.
was traded to New York for Johnny Egan, Jim Barnes, and Johnny Green and money in '65. And eventually came over in the DeBusschere trade with Butch Komives to Detroit. He makes it 116-108. Alcindor in backcourt against the press. Goes to McLaughlin. Walker against him. Spinning away, double team, going to get blindsided. Look out. Gets it away to Robinson. 51 seconds to go, and an 8-point lead for the team with the ball.
McLaughlin transforms forward, showing a little dribbling that he didn't have last year as a guard.
A forced shot missed by Robinson. Komives has it, 37 seconds to go. His ball club down by 8. They're going to have to hurry. McLemore makes his move, beats one man, and scores. And it's a 6-point lead with 30 seconds to go. Here's Robinson going on McLemore. He hits McLaughlin, who scores. It could be the icing on the cake. 24 seconds left in the ball game. 118-110. That's the score. Don't forget NCAA football following on ABC immediately. Miles misses the jumper, and with 14 seconds to go, it's knocked out of bounds. So Alcindor has had 29 points, 5 personal fouls, 6 assists. He is 12 for 27 from the field. Quite a start. 5 seconds, 4 seconds. And there's a foul called against Komives.
Komives wanted to get one more in against Flynn Robinson before the game was over. They were paired against one another, and you remember the altercation earlier. So Butch getting the last one in there.
One throw.
Flynn Robinson, as I said, averaging close to 30 points a game in this exhibition series.
Now it's 119-110. 4 seconds to go in the game. Milwaukee leads, and Milwaukee will win it. 1 second to go. And the Bucks have won their opener. And a team that was in the cellar last year looking forward toward a playoff this year. And what a difference one player makes. The shot is blocked by Alcindor at the buzzer. Oh, what a job he did. The final score, 119 Milwaukee, 110 Detroit. And now this is Jerry Gross, along with Jack Kleiman, saying so long from Milwaukee.